This episode of The Hirsh Show is brought to you by Knack Bags, the best backpacks for working from anywhere.
From the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, straight out of New York City, it's time for The Hirsh Show. He's back and better than ever. And on today's show, Nickelodeon star Jeff Sutphen. With your host, Kyle Hirshon. And now, here's Hirsh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 2, numero dos, of The Hirsh Show. We're here, right here in we have a studio now. This is green screen. But we're so excited to welcome you back to a brand new season of interviews, guests, lots of surprises along the way. And as also always, I want to thank my producer, Nick Morganson of the Empty the Bench Network, for bringing me on to be part of their new podcasting network. There's a whole bunch of shows that you should definitely check out along the way. I'll put those in the description of this video below. But today is a very special day for my first episode back for season 2. We're dealing with a guy who has been on television for many, many years. If you were a kid like me back in the early 2000s, you definitely know him from You Pick Live as the Pickboy. You know him from Brainsurge and Figure It Out, and on ABC's 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. My guest is, of course, the wonderful Jeff Sutphen, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a great intro. You know, Kyle, I think I might have you over to my house like every day when I wake up to come downstairs to make breakfast. I could wake up to that every day. Did I really do all that stuff? I was starting to think I think he might just be making stuff up.
Maybe, who knows?
But Kyle, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is actually really good for me because my New Year's resolution was to do more stuff with people named Kyle.
Oh, really?
So this is working out great for me. You're helping me achieve my New Year's resolution.
Well, that's very great that I'm able to help achieve your goals this year. Now, Jeff, I got to ask right now, what are you doing at this point in your career? I haven't really seen you on camera as much as I'd like to. I understand that you've been working with a really cool kid named Ryan.
That's right. So I've always loved hosting. Before I was a host, I started in production. That was my first love. I still love producing, and it was one of these things that through a series of happy accidents, I ended up in front of the camera while I was hosting stuff. I still was a producer on a lot of the projects I was hosting, but also just in between seasons and stuff, I would pick up other production jobs. So when the tides kind of turned with hosting and it became very celebrity driven and I wasn't getting as many hosting jobs, I really turned a lot of my attention back into the producing realm. And I most recently finished up I guess it was technically season 5, but they call it 4B of Ryan's Mystery Playdate on Nick Jr., where I was the executive producer, showrunner. For that show, which we ultimately did a grand total of 90 episodes.
Wow.
There's a possibility we do more, but we're just, we're in the waiting game now to find out if there's going to be a new season. So it's been awesome. I love working in TV, whether I'm hosting, whether I'm producing. My goal is to have fun on camera or behind the camera, because I think if you can have fun at work, it translates to on camera. So, all the zippy one-liners that I used to use to say as a host, I just say, "Hey, Ryan, say this." And Ryan says it for me now. So if you do have kids or you have ever watched an episode of Ryan's Mystery Playdate and you listen and watch, you'll my humor. You very much can see the very direct correlation between the two.
Now, I want to go deeper on this producing background. This is how you actually, you said you actually started as a producer, not a host. Now, where exactly did you begin this career in producing? Because I'm a producer myself. Doing news is very different from, reality and unscripted shows. So I want to hear more about this producing background.
So I knew from a very young age when I was in high school that I really liked, hey, this is something I want to do. I want to work in TV. And so when I went looking for colleges, I made sure that they had communication programs. I went to college at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, studied TV, radio, film. And then right out of college, jumped into the workforce, and I started as a PA at VH1 and worked various jobs, as a freelancer, kind of floated through the company, and then was at a point where I started kind of climbing the ladder, but in a direction that wasn't bad. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. I was going to move in a direction that felt a little more administrative. And I like to be boots on the ground, out in the field, getting it done. So I ended up finding another job that took me out of the Viacom bubble and put me in a smaller place. And I learned a lot there. It was a really small startup type situation. So it was great for me in terms of growing because they were small. So it was one of those things where it's like, well, we need you to do everything. And I was young and ambitious, and I was like, great, so I was holding the camera while hosting, while doing everything, and it was awesome. I got to learn a lot of great things. And then after they dissolved, I ended up back under the Viacom fold. I did some stuff for MTV, but that's then I ended up at Nickelodeon on You Pick Live is where I was hired originally to be a segment producer. And so when we launched You Pick Live, they brought me in to be a segment producer. And then right a few weeks before we launched, they said, hey, we got this idea for this, this character that would be on camera. He would pick kids to go to the prize wall, or, do you want to be a superhero? I was like, I'm comfortable in full body leotard, sign me up. So that was really kind of it. And then for a majority of You Pick Live, I was producer by day, superhero by night, and that one thing led to the next. And so overall, my career it's been this really weird journey, weird but fun. And I think there's been a lot of learning experiences through that, because one of the biggest things I've learned, I'm totally rambling now, I apologize.
No, you're fine.
One of the things that it was a very hard lesson for me to learn, and a very hard thing for me to realize, because I always thought like, hey, it's an asset to be able to do all these things, to go, hey, I can run a camera for you. Hey, I can jump in and host that. Hey, I can produce this for you. What I was realizing was people want to put you in a box and go, he's a producer. Don't try and be a host. He's a host. What could you possibly know about producing? And so I used to have this resume that showed, oh, you were a producer and a host, and a producer and a host, and a host on this. And I realized what I had to do is take these resumes and separate them and go, here's a hosting resume and here's a producing resume. If I was getting hired or interviewing for a producer job, I never talked about the hosting unless they asked me, if they knew. And then if I was interviewing for a host job, I didn't talk about my production background. There are very few people in this business that will look at that and go, that's a huge asset. When I worked with Matt Kunitz on 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show, he knew of my production background, and that was awesome. Like he would bring me to all the production meetings, and we had a great working relationship, because there was things that I was seeing, like while he was in the control room, that he couldn't see while I was out on the field. And he would say, hey, don't, you got to say this. And I would be like, I can't say that right now, because we don't know that yet, because they haven't seen. And so it was one of these things that sort of relationship is great. And then there's people like when I worked on Figure It Out, they didn't want my production input at all. So that was very much like, hey, just be the dancing monkey. And that's what we want you to do. So it again, that stuff. And even to this day, I still struggle with that at times of going, because I love all of it. I love hosting. I love being an executive producer. And sometimes it's that those things can butt heads. But I just have to just go, okay, I'm still having fun. I'm still getting paid to do something I love. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to do that myself sometimes at work too, because there are times where, in my case, I do news. So there's a lot of times where we have most recently with the big snowstorms that have been happening in the area, I've been wanting to assign the stories to some of our reporters. Like, hey, you go to this gas station where there's a shortage on gas. You go to this park where there's an accident. There's a car that turned over from the ice. But I have to kind of relegate myself. Like, no, I can't do that. That's the assignment editor's job. The EP has to approve everything that I do. But you always want that creative control, and that's the one great thing about being both a host and a producer is that creative control can benefit in many ways.
It depends. Yeah. I mean, when people ask me like, hey, what do you like better? It's such a tricky question because there are things that I like very much about being a host. And then there are things I love very much about being an executive producer. Like as an executive producer, you have a ton of creative control and you have a lot of ability to drive the ship and the creative. As a host, you might not necessarily have that. You have a bunch of people up top telling you, hey, do it this way, say it this way. No, don't go over there, set it up over here. And so it seems like you have control, but you have less control. And that at times can be a tricky balance of, hey, and that's where I think at times it can be hard. Figure it out for me was very difficult to host, not because of the content, but because it was this pre-existing show that had such a history behind it. And the executive producers that were running that were the executive producers who ran the original one. So they were very much saying like, hey, when we did it 15 years ago, we did it like this, try it like that. And to me, I had to fight my instincts of going, I really want to say it this way or do it this way, but they wanted it a certain way. And again, you're a host, this is what you were hired to be, just be the host. Turn your producer brain off and just deal with that. And again, like I said, big struggle on my side for that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to get back to You Pick Live, your first big major gig with Nickelodeon. You got to go everywhere, and I mean everywhere. There's Pickboy right there, hanging upside down. Your first big time gig on camera. Yeah. You got to go so many places. You got to go to the Kids' Choice Awards. You got to go to the No, stay down, Blimp. No, Blimp, stay down. Okay, fine. I'll float blonde. I'll have one of these. It's not real.
I was gonna say, you have one. I don't. Only wanted one. Hit Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nickelodeon. Great guy, Nate on Etsy. Get one of these, 3D printed. You got to go to like the Super Bowl. You got to go to all these places. What was that like? Were you like being in the suit, doing all these things, talking with some of the biggest stars of the day? I mean, that had to have been a thrill.
It was awesome. It was one of these things, and I still, even to this day, I haven't donned the cape and tights in some time. However, it was always the highlight of my year. Kids' Choice Awards, I loved it. It was, as a kid, I don't understand as a kid how you would be able to control yourself, because as an adult going, I was always like, yeah. It was amazing. There was always so much happening and so much to do, and it was always so well put together. And like I said, it was the highlight of my year. I love doing Kids' Choice Awards. These are all the credentials.
Oh wow, yeah, look at that.
All those. So I think I did 10 years straight. I did a decade of Kids' Choice Awards, and then I didn't get asked for the 11th year, but then they brought me back to do like another 2 years in different capacities. So I think I did a total like roughly 12 years. Here's what I realized very early on with doing whether it was Kids' Choice Awards or anything with the You Pick Live when the celebrities would come by.
Yes.
If you are in a costume, you can say and do almost anything. Because let me press that. When you're in a costume on a kid's show, you can say and do almost anything. Because it was one of these things where the celebrities very quickly understood, you're not making fun of me, you're the idiot. And that was one of those things where celebrities understood that and went, I get the joke. I get that you're foolish and you're silly. And so they played along. Almost 100% of the time they played along. There was a few times, especially the early days of going to the Super Bowls. And I think I did about 9 of those.
Jeez.
Not consecutive. I did, I think like 2 years consecutive. Then I think I did like another 6 straight.
Right.
Like after a few years. The reporters there either got it or they didn't. And I think, and that was that again, it took me a while to figure that out. Like, why are they so angry at me? And what I realized was, they think I'm making fun of them and all of the pageantry of Media Day and Super Bowl. And the people that had a problem with what they didn't realize is you're there to entertain your audience. You know your audience. Your audience wants to know about what kind of defense they're going to run and who thinks, are you going to be healthy with that injury? My audience cares about burps and farts. So I'm going to ask those sorts of questions.
Pickboy here at Reliant Stadium on the sidelines of Super Bowl 38. We're here to talk to all the big players about the big game and about myself. Let's go. Big day. What are you looking most forward to?
We was looking forward to seeing you.
Of course.
I'm Pickboy too. Nice to meet you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm Pickboy.
Same last name?
Yeah.
We could be brothers. How much can you lift?
About 500.
What? 500 pounds? So since we're brothers and stuff and we have the same name, is there a possibility of me getting tickets?
You have to pick your tickets up somewhere else because I can't help you out.
So when you get into the end zone, do you have a specific touchdown dance that you do?
Nah, man, I don't dance really.
Oh, I got one for you. So, dude, I'm telling you, get on that. The kids are gonna love you for it. They're gonna know it's club. What do you think?
I think we can get everybody to do that.
The whole team?
The whole team.
This guy. We'll talk after.
All right, man.
Because that's awesome.
Again, I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of football. I love football. I'm not making fun of the teams, the players. But this is what my audience wants. And if you can recognize that I'm doing my job, I can recognize you're doing your job. That's fine. And there were times, there was, like I said, there were reporters who got it because they had kids or they knew who I was, or they saw me there so many years in a row that they were just like, oh, hey, how you doing? And I eventually became one of that press corps. I remember one year I was in line waiting to get in, where you got to check your IDs, do the whole metal detector, the whole 9 yards. And I was waiting there and there was like a camera guy with a tripod over his shoulder. He was like across from me and he like looks over and he sees me. He goes, hey, Pickboy. And I look at him like, hey, what's up? He goes, how many years is this for you? And like, just so happy, just like, holding this equipment. I'm like, I think this is like 6 for me. He's like, yeah, I think I'm in like 8 or 9. All right, we'll see you in there. And it was like, that was that moment where I was like, yes.
You're in. You got the in crowd.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm part of the guy. I'm part of the fraternity. So there was people, like I said, there was people who got it and were like, yep, we're cool with him. And then there was people who felt like I was making a mockery of it. Now, what Media Day became was 100% because of what Pickboy and Nickelodeon were doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We made it the circus it is.
I'm surprised they never asked you to return as Pickboy for when they did the wild card games the last 2 years.
I know. It did kill me that I was like, ooh, I'm in midseason form. I'll get that cape on right now.
Yeah, I mean, but they did a heck of a good job the last 2 years.
I love Nate Burleson and Young Dylan. I think what they do is so good. I mean, it actually makes me angry to see how good they are. And I don't mean that in that way. I mean, I could watch Nate Burleson work all day. He's just so good at what he does. He's got such a great personality. And I mean, honestly, like I love him on Good Morning Football. When he left Good Morning Football, I was like, oh my gosh, this is killing me. I love that he still joins on Mondays and Fridays from the CBS desk. The fact that Nickelodeon cashed in on utilizing him is just a stroke of genius. And
absolutely,
continued success with their partnership with the NFL. I'd always be up for coming back. I said it a million times.
Speculation. Pickboy returns for the Super Bowl 57.
Started trending right now,
Right. Started trend right now. You know what to do. There are people out there that will start that trend.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring Pickboy back for the Super. I think CBS is broadcasting next year. I don't know.
Even if I'm not, let's do it.
Let's do it. Bring Pickboy no matter what. I always wanted to go see, You Pick live in person. I was honestly, I think I was a bit too young to go to the studios. But what did you really, as a producer, you picked the kids to, do the segments of the prizes. My favorite was like the wall of stuff that you like. I think you like the prize wall. Yeah. I had to get the bucket of bucks or even something, the bucket of yuck. I remember that, in my head. I don't know why. But like, what kind of qualities did the kids have to have in order to be able to pick from that coveted wall or do whatever?
So Kyle, that's a great question. And I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody.
Really? This is a first.
This is an exclusive.
So
this part I've shared is that Pickboy was originally invented because they couldn't have Brent and Candace pick kids because that would show favoritism.
I see. Yes.
And they couldn't have Brent and Candace read prize copy because that was endorsing. So that was the main. Pickboy was invented out of legality reasons.
Yes.
So the main purpose for me was to just jump out and go, I pick you, I randomly pick you. That kid would go tell me what door they want. We would pop it out and then I would read the prize copy. That's pretty well documented.
Right.
What's not documented is for the longest time, we had an audience coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And that audience coordinator would, off camera, behind the scenes, she was the one that would look at everybody and go, I think, I want this kid to go to the prize wall. She had her reasons, some of it was, again, they're not a guest of someone who works in the building and all that crap. So she knew which ones were eligible and which ones had the good personalities. And so then she would tell me and say, hey, pick the kid in the purple sweater. It's like, great. After a while of doing this, I was like, well, I'm kind of the world's greatest picking superhero. Shouldn't I have a say in who I pick?
Right? I mean, shouldn't Pickboy have the right to pick?
And again, this wasn't like an act of defiance, like I'm not going on TV until I get to pick.
Right.
But I was like, I get that there's certain kids I can't pick. So instead of telling me the kid to pick, can you tell me which ones I can't pick and allow me the opportunity? They're like, oh yeah, of course. So now I had the legit power of because there were kids that were like, would go absolutely bananas. And then I was like
me included.
Yeah. And I was like, I got to pick the kid in purple because that's who I was told to pick. And he was like sitting there like this while everyone else was going bananas. And that I think was the main reason I said, hey, can I start doing this? Because it looks weird that I'm picking the only kid who's not cheering. And so there was a few cases where that happened. So they were like, absolutely. And so for me, I was always looking for the kid who was the most excited. The one that during the commercial break seemed to be the most engaged and was laughing and having a good time. And then it never hurt if you came with your own homemade Pickboy t-shirt.
Yeah. Kind of like Price is Right. Kind of like what they do for that.
There was a few of those. So that was a pretty much, it got to a point where if someone did that, and of course I'd always pick them, Brent would always be like, gee, I wonder why, live on air, I wonder why you picked him, or I wonder why she's going to the prize. Well, I was like, whatever. So that was really my thing. I'm a huge fan of the enthusiasm, the desire to want to be there. So that was what always got my attention.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would have just gone batshit crazy and I'm like, pick me, God damn it. I want to, I want something. And all throughout the show, we've had fans, ask questions, what they would want to ask you, if they can't be here in person. We have a couple of those regarding Pickboy. We have a couple regarding Pickboy. Chris asks, do you still get called Pickboy from time to time?
No. Here's the thing. No one ever really knew it was me.
Right. I didn't know until maybe 2012 when you kept doing Brainsurge.
Right. And that was the thing is like, I never said who I was Pickboy. I found great joy in keeping my superhero identity a secret. That became a huge game to me. So I never admitted that I was Pickboy. People never recognized me outside of costume, which is crazy. That gives total, you're always like, how do you not know it's Superman? It's just a pair of glasses. Clark Kent, Superman. And I realized like that mask concealed enough of my identity that people never recognized me.
Wow.
Out of all the years of doing UPick, I may have been recognized 3 or 4 times out of costume.
Wow.
But it was only because I was at like another Nickelodeon event. Like I might have been at the Nick Hotel.
I see.
People
Yes.
were like, wait a minute. And then a bunch of years ago, like maybe 7 years ago or so, my daughter, when she was very young, so it must have been more than 7 years. Geez, it must have been close to 10. Maybe not that many. 7 to 10 years. I've never been good with that. She had a Pick Girl costume. The Nickelodeon costume people made her a really cool Pickboy costume. So it's Pick Girl. And we were going to, I was running to Target and she was like, can I come? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And she was in her Pick Girl costume. And I was like, all right, I'll take you over there like this. I don't care. And I was walking down the aisles with her and I was looking for something and I couldn't find it. And she's standing there and I turned to, like, I saw, someone who worked there. And I was like, hey, do you know where the hot dogs are or whatever? And he looked at me, looked down at my daughter, saw the costume, looked back up at me and went, oh yeah. And then he made the realization of like, oh my God, you're, and like I said, he was that perfect age. He was, he was like your age. He grew up watching the show. He knew who I was. And he didn't say anything, but it was all like,
that's so cool.
He came like barreling back into the eyes, like, here's your hot dogs. So people never really did call me Pickboy. And here's a fun fact. Again, I don't think I've ever shared this.
Okay.
Even when we were doing the show, and like I said, I was a producer and Pickboy.
Yes.
If I was in costume, no matter what, and this was an unspoken thing. This was not something that we made this rule up. It just happened.
Right.
If I was in costume, everyone called me Pickboy. Nobody called me Jeff.
That makes sense.
If I was dressed like, in my civilian clothes,
yes,
nobody ever said no one ever called me Pickboy, ever called me Jeff. And again, this was not something that we sat down and talked about. I never said, don't call me that. Oh, it's just like everyone on the crew, on the staff, everybody just, it was like, oh, hey, Pickboy. And they became,
it's like literally two different people.
Exactly. And in some ways, they were both very much the same. In other ways, they were completely different. And everyone was very good about driving that line right down the middle. And those worlds rarely collided, which was awesome to be able to keep that separate. There was Nickelodeon would have Bring Your Kids to Work Day.
Okay.
And some of the employees, I worked on the 37th floor while we were producing during the day, getting ready for the show at night. And people would, employees would come over to my desk and go, hey, tomorrow when I bring my kids to work, can I bring them by so they can meet you?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, absolutely. I'll tell you right now, like, unless I'm in costume, they won't care. I said, I'm more than happy to meet them, take pictures, do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. I said, but if I'm not dressed, like, they won't know who I am. And they won't care. And they're like, no, my kid will know. My kid will know. I promise. Time and time again, never failed. They would walk their kid over and they'd be like, this is him. And they would just go, that's not Pickboy. They would never. And I'm like, I told you.
Yeah.
And so I would always say, like, hey, look, if you're still here at 3:30, I'll be in costume just down on the 10th floor. Bring your kid by and they'll be able to meet me in costume, So
there you go.
It was fun to see. Like I said, there was a clear divide between. So short answer, no, people do not call me Pickboy.
And I have one last question before we go to a quick break. Hannah, she asks, do you still have the Pickboy costume? I think you already answered that, but do you still have the Pickboy costume?
Do I still have the Pickboy costume? I have, well, there was different costumes throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have like bits and pieces from all the different costumes throughout the years. So yeah, I guess I do. Have I put it on? No.
and I don't expect you to.
I'm saving it because the first boyfriend that my daughter brings home,
oh dear,
I'm going to answer the door in full costume. And we're really going to get to test the personality right out of the gate.
Oh my God.
Is this guy willing to play in the sandbox? We'll find out.
Oh God. Was this kid a Nickelodeon kid or did he grow up with Disney Channel? I don't know.
And even if he didn't, I'm going for the embarrassment factor.
Of course. All dads do that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Knack Bags. But when we come back, we're going to discuss more with Jeff Sutphen on his time with Brainsurge, Figure It Out. And of course, his latest venture, not his latest venture, but his most recent venture as a host, 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. This is the Hirsh Show. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Hirsh. I want to take a few moments of your time to talk about today's sponsor, Knack. If you're like me, I'm constantly on the move, whether it's for business, leisure, or any sort of thing. And because of that, I need to carry my electronics with me. I have a laptop, I have a tablet, of course I've got my cell phone, but I want to tell you about our sponsor, Knack. They have created this beautifully designed bag. And what's really cool about these is that there's no need to choose between style and functionality. These bags are designed for professionals in mind with function, convenience. It doesn't make you look like a student, so that's really nice. With this patented design, Knack is the first backpack that expands. I mean, look at this. I mean, there's so much room in here that you could put anything in here. And it's got a professional appearance to help you look your best, whether you're in the office or you're out in the world. Get a Knack bag today and stop worrying about, the life essentials and stuff, making sure that everything you carry is safe. And if you go to knackbags.com and enter the promo code Hirsh for a limited time, you will get a free gift. This TSA approved lock. Just add the TSA lock to your cart with your bag of purchase. I mean, I got this beautiful olive green. They come in black, they come in blue, tan, gray. So many amazing colors to choose from. Again, go to the website, knackbags.com, enter the promo code Hirsh, and you will get a free TSA approved lock. And now, back to our show.
All right, thank you so much for checking in that sponsor. We will have a link for you so you can purchase your own laptop bag. Jeff Sutphen still with us. A lot of great insight from his time with Nickelodeon, and we're going to continue with that with Brainsurge, one of my favorite shows growing up in elementary school. Had a good long run, and I want to talk about how that came to be, how you ended up getting that role as the presenter.
Okay, so that was they called me to audition, and I was like, yeah, sure. At that point, I had been Pickboy on the air for about 7 years, So while I was incredibly excited to be considered, I was also a little puzzled. Like, you guys know what I do. You know my personality. You know, but anyway, I came in, I auditioned. They liked what they saw. They said, you know, then they narrowed down. I had to audition. I think I auditioned like 3 times. And it was one of these things where, and I knew the other people that they were considering. And I was good friends with them. So that was weird. Like, we went out to dinner, I think the night before, and we were talking about what we were going to do. So I was like friendly with those people. And then one of my very close friends, Jay Boogie, I don't know if you remember him from Teen Nick.
Oh, I think I do. That name sounds really familiar.
Yeah. So me and Jay Boogie, he's actually been texting me during this. He actually hosted the pilot.
Oh, really?
And so that was really strange because I was like, hey, remember that pilot you did? Well, I'm going to be the host. So it was really funny because like we had a great career. We used to do Kids Choice Awards together.
Oh, wow.
I would produce him on Teen Nick. He would, you know, so like we used to host things together. I was his producer at times. So it was cool. We're very good friends. And so he said, you know, that was really cool. So I ended up getting the host gig to do it. And this was really kind of my first, while I had obviously done a ton of TV at that point.
Right.
This was really my first time doing a game show and becoming, you know, a game show host. And they surrounded me with this incredible team of amazing producers. Aaron Solomon, who you know, who was just, you know, he knew anything and everything about every game show. So he was really like, he really helped coach me through, hey, look, here's like, be able to, you know, recap scores here, recognize this, like, because now you have a potential come from behind victory. So he was really, him and a few other producers, really good at coaching me through and recognizing like, oh, here, you know, it's not just about, here's how we play the game. Let's meet the contestants. Let's play. There's all those little intricacies of building moments and building that drama, even if it's just short moments. And that's what I think really helped me become a very successful game show host, because I quickly realized like, wow, this is a completely different beast than what I'm used to. Besides the fact that I'm not in spandex.
Oh, yeah.
But for comfort's sake, I had them on underneath.
Yeah.
But it was great. I loved it. I mean, Brainsurge was unbelievably fun. I met, besides meeting Aaron, Tim Beggy, who is now one of my best friends. I mean, I talk to Tim every day. We work together on Ryan's Mystery Play Day. He co-produces with me. We create shows. We actually have a game show that we're pitching to Nickelodeon right now. It's in development. So Tim Beggy is amazing. And his background, of course, he was from MTV Road Rules and a bunch of, you know, Fox Sports and History Channel stuff. I mean, his hosting career is probably more prolific than mine. And just, again, having another host producer alongside me who could walk me through like, hey, here's a funny one-liner or stuff like that. Invaluable. And so besides the fact that it was an amazing show, I met amazing people and developed even more great friendships. David Hurwitz, who was the exec producer on that, Scott Stone, who, and all these names might mean nothing to everybody listening, but Scott Stone was instrumental. He was one of the creators of Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yep. Among other amazing game shows. David Hurwitz was one of the main people on Fear Factor, exec producers of Fear Factor back in the day, and has done, I can sit here and do the resumes all day long, but I felt so privileged that, like, oh my gosh, Clay Newbill, who runs Shark Tank, for crying out. I mean, the people that they had, the safety net underneath me was immense. And the amount of knowledge that these people could give me was incredible. And I was just like, I was soaking that up. And again, that just led to the next thing. You know, it was like David Hurwitz was close friends with Matt Kunitz, and Matt Kunitz was the one who hired me for 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. So I was able to kind of stay within that microcosm of amazing producers. I feel, even to this day, I feel so incredibly fortunate that I had this accidental career. And not only did I have this accidental career, but the people that I was aligned with, it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing if you look at like how fortunate I was to work with some of the best people in the industry. I can't say enough about all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate myself to work with some very talented people who have gone on to do so many amazing things. Not only in just television, but either in radio or even marketing, PR management. It is absolutely incredible to see how many of these people have been doing, just so amazingly. And, I want to continue on with Brainsurge as far as, the people that you had on the show itself. One of my favorites was the All-Star special with Candace Cameron Bure, Anthony Anderson, Larry King of all people.
Oh, yeah.
God rest his soul. And I was overhearing another show that you were on, another podcast you were on, that there could have been a potential major incident with Mr. King.
So we were, if you remember, in round one of Brainsurge, everyone stood at a podium, and there was 2 tiers. So there was the first level, and then there was like a step up, and then there was a second level. We had Larry King on the first level, him and his son, and then right behind him is a little step up, and that's where Anthony Anderson was.
Right.
Well, when we were loading people in to get them all situated, as you know, Larry King was, I think he invented water.
He was that old at that point.
As you said, great guy, incredibly talented. He was not the most agile. And so like, as he was stepping in, he was kind of moving around and he stepped back, and I think he kind of hit that step that was behind him, and he started to go down, and I was standing right there. Anthony Anderson stepped out from behind the podium, caught him before he fell.
Wow.
And like propped him back up. Almost like a wax, statue that was going up.
Oh my God.
Right back in. And like, as if nothing happened, he just like stands at his podium. Anthony Anderson, I'm looking at Anthony Anderson. He looks at me. No one else saw it. And Anthony Anderson just goes, "You don't want that." I think I said, "Nice reflexes." And he says, "You don't want that lawsuit."
No, you don't.
That was the entire exchange. Anthony Anderson just like walked back to his podium, got behind me with his kid, and was just like, "Oh my gosh!"
And then, after that whole exchange, boom.
Yeah, it was just like, "Hey, here we go. Welcome to the show."
Oh God. One of my favorite parts about the whole show, it was actually not the brain drain. It was the bonus game where you had to memorize the patterns and step on the little buttons. And, you and then you win the little prizes. And of course the slime, you can't beat the slime. Was there ever somebody who ended up getting to the bonus game and was like, "Nah, I don't want the slime. What am I doing here?"
No. Brainsurge was always good. Like, the kids were always excited and ready for the slime. If they completed all 3 paths in 90 seconds or less, here's what you're gonna win. They were always all for it. They knew, like, let me hit that button. Figure It Out was different. Figure It Out, there was a few people who were like, I don't know if I want the slime. Yeah. So there was always a great kind of, struggle with that show. But Brainsurge, everyone was all in, And the other thing is, too, we were always moving so fast where it was like, you got to run, hit that button. Because they were racing that clock. And that was always the thing, too. It's like, you put a clock on something.
Oh, yeah, then the intensity just grows.
That they're thinking about anything else other than stopping that clock is slim to none. So they would run up, hit that button. As soon as I saw them hit that button, I ran in, and I would always grab them too. Which is like, buckle in, here it comes. And part of that was not necessarily to make sure they didn't, like, try and get away from it. The other part is, like, slime is incredibly slippery.
Oh yeah.
And we were on a steel grate, so like most of it would go through, so it wouldn't pool up around us. But still, even walking in and out. So I was, taken from a guy who has fallen many of times, ass over tea kettle, you know, on the slime. I was always I didn't want like a kid or a guest to fall.
Yeah,
So
God
I was
forbid.
always kind of like, I would, you know, it's like, you know, hey, tune in tomorrow to watch a brand new episode where, you know, kids go head to head on all the Brainsurge. Hey, watch them Mayfield, New York. And as soon as they went, we're clear, I would turn to that kid and go, don't move. I don't want you to slip and fall. Like as soon as we were off camera, I immediately went into like producer mode of like, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get you cleaned up. We're going to lay some towels out. You're going to walk over there. We're going to get you into a, you know, and then they had, on any of those shows, you have a full team that just deals with mess, whether it's making the mess, whether it's cleaning up the mess. They have stacks of towels, you know, they have a whole system down, you know, squeeze the floor, hose comes out. It's crazy. It is amazing to watch.
I'm surprised that Nickelodeon doesn't have like their own towel company, you know, with all the slime that they produce. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I've never felt like the current slime that they have, but I can imagine it feels like, say you like drop like shampoo on the floor and you're slipping and sliding, you know, it's very dangerous.
It's super slippery, and there's nothing like, even on Ryan's Mystery Playdate, you know, when we would deal with the slime and stuff like that, we were always looking to have, you know, we would get slip resistant floors, you know, these are the tiles they use in hospitals. And it's like, yeah, you can have all that stuff, and that might help a little. You can wear this certain type of shoe, you can do this, but when it comes down to it, it's I mean, it's like trying to walk on a buttered floor. You're gonna fall. It's just it's a numbers game. So you just do the best to, you know, mitigate as much damage as possible. Yeah. And, I remember one year at Kids Choice Awards, it was during the orange carpet pre-show. We had slimed someone, and we were live on air. And I had, you know, I think Jay Boogie was starting to say something, and I leaned into the person who was just slimed. I was like, "Be careful, it's really slippery." As I was saying slippery, I went, whoosh,
oh jeez!
I mean, straight on my back, live on air. And it was just, and again, I mean, it's just classic like instant karma situation.
Of course. So. Yeah, just eating dog dirt on the orange carpet. I mean, I'd never been slimed, so I of course never knew what it was like. I've never had that privilege to go to Nickelodeon studios or whatever. I wish I did. You know, you always had the one thing you're like, you wish you did this, blah blah blah. Right. But, you know, I can imagine that must have been a huge thrill for the kids, you know, not because they won all these prizes, but hey, I got covered in this green goop that everyone's associating Nickelodeon with.
Exactly. As you say, it is kind of this like, you know, it's a bucket list item. It's a rite of passage. And I feel incredibly honored that not only have I been slimed, people ask me like, how many times have you been slimed? It's like, yeah, I've easily over 100 times. I've lost count. I mean, trying to keep track of that became very impossible. But it is, you know, and all the times I've been slimed, I don't think I was ever like, yeah, like again. You know, make no mistake about it, when we were shooting Brainsurge, I was shooting 5 episodes a day. There was days where I got slimed 5-6 times a day.
You got yourself the karaoke. That's so good. Oh, that's not it. I can't remember what happens next.
That's a lot of showering, and my skin was like on fire because like at that point my skin was so dry from all the and I mean, like days later I would find like I itch my ears. I'm like, what? How do I have slime? Oh, like that was 3 days ago. It gets everywhere. You'll find it in places. You're just like, people would be like, why? What? You got something green? I'm like,
oh God.
St. Patrick's Day celebration. But yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It's fun. It's messy. It's slippery.
Oh yeah.
It's Nickelodeon slime.
you can't get it anywhere else. I still wish they made like the green slime shampoo. It's like won't turn you green, get you clean. Get you clean, won't turn you green. I forget the whole slogan.
Green slime shampoo gets you clean, won't turn you green. Now you can get slimed in your own shower.
Now, I want to quickly move on to the figure it out, because you mentioned that there were, some people that did not want to get slimed, and I'm going to show the people at home, and you're going to see this too. This one kid who decided that, hey, the slime's not for me.
Wow, this is Kyle. This was my favorite moment of everything I've ever hosted. This moment was hands down my most favorite thing of all time. What was great is he said he was fine with getting slimed before the show started. We always asked, and he said he was fine. And in this moment, he decided he was not fine with it, and he had cat-like reflexes, and he got out of there real quick. And I kind of was like, yeah, that is my playground, my rules. You don't get to run away.
Yeah, no, especially when it's slime. I mean, come on.
None of that was planned. That was all a 100% like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And that was one of those things where, again, as I mentioned earlier, figure it out. They were very formulaic about it. We go from here, you throw to a price copy, you come back, you start the clock, you do this, you recap. So when that happened, and I was like, those are moments that I live for. That insane chaos, you never know what's going to happen. Like, I love that energy. And so when that happened, I was like, game on. Like, me and you were going toe to toe. So I just, and when he took off backstage, I turned, they cut it down, but I turned to my cameraman and I pointed, I was like, let's go. And like, the camera assistant starts throwing out all the cable, and the camera guys are behind me. And it was like insane. It was just kind of, again, that was one of those moments where like my producer hat kicked in, and it was like, oh, we can't let him go. I need to be able to tie this back to the show. So I ran, grabbed him. And the guys who operate the slime had a setup that was just off. Like, if this was the podium I stood at, they were just off to my that's my left. They were just off to my left behind me. So if you notice, there is kind of like a head nod. And I'm nodding to Omar, was his name. Yeah. And I was like, hit it, buddy. Like,
and just unleashed everything.
I was like, his kid's not going to sit here much longer. So it was, again, like, great relationship with the slime masters at there. So
I mean, again, the Figure It Out was one of those shows that I wish I had some sort of crazy talent, like I could lay on a bed of nails, or I remember there was one kid on the original show whose talent was he could like make the shapes of state by eating pieces of cheese. Like, that's one I remember. I'm like, if that's what you got to do to get on TV, where the hell do I sign up? I mean, like,
this is the standard we're operating at. Okay.
Yeah.
And, it was funny. You'd get a lot of, I would sometimes see some of the audition tapes, because they put out the call, like, hey, we're looking for kids with amazing skills. Obviously, they had, the whole thing. And I would shoot promos to get people to submit. And there was so many of like, look, I'm double jointed, and they could, but
it's like, yeah, I can do that too. I mean, like,
I can bend my thumb back to my wrist, and it was just like, there must have been 1,000 of those tapes. But again, every once in a while you get that like one special, like, oh man, that kid's amazing. And I think one of my favorite, we had this kid who was a whip expert.
Oh, wow.
He came on, he's got the little, cowboy hat, and he like,
jeez,
whip like a piece of spaghetti out of my mouth.
Wow.
And he was awesome. And I was just like, dude, if you do birthday parties, I'll sign you up right now.
Oh my God.
He was awesome.
Oh my God. I mean, I just, there are some kids on that show that I just like, okay, you win. I'll never be good enough. I got a couple more fan questions regarding Brainsurge and Figure It Out. Before we go on to the final topic of our show, we have Dylan who says, I loved Brainsurge and I'm surprised that it isn't on streaming platforms like Paramount Plus. Why is this the case?
That is a very good question, Dylan. I wish I had the answer. I periodically check too, because it's I'm like, oh, I wonder if I have Paramount Plus and I have kids, and
yeah.
Not that I'm like, hey, kids, come down and watch your dad. I don't, I've never really talked to them about that. I mean, they're aware of it, but they've never. There was one point where my daughter, who's a little older now, once she figured out how to Google things, she started Googling me and she started watching episodes of Brainsurge on YouTube and stuff like that. She's like, oh my gosh, Daddy. And she's like, my score is 70 points right now. She's like, do you remember the puzzle where you did this? I got it right. She got excited and started playing along. I don't know why it's not on there. I don't even think, if I'm mistaken, I don't even think they have the Figure It Out episodes that I hosted.
Oh, really?
I don't think they do. I don't know. Did I do something wrong? Nickelodeon? Paramount?
Not even Summer Sanders. I mean,
I posted over 700 episodes of TV for you. Why are none of them on there?
We'll never know. I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. So when you guys are hashtagging trying to get Pickboy back to the Super Bowl or Kids' Choice Awards or whatever it is, you can also start hashtagging Brainsurge on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, Brainsurge on Paramount Plus. Absolutely.
Honestly, and this is not, I'm not a shameless plug or anything like that.
Yeah.
But Brainsurge is one of those shows that not only, in my opinion, is great for kids. I think that's being a family man now myself, I think that's a really fun family show, like the co-viewing, like if you have families who want to sit down and, hey, let's watch something together. I feel like that's a really fun show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was one of those shows that I honestly thought should have lasted longer than it did. It could have gone on much longer.
Kyle, I'm telling you, if you're an executive, I'll come host any of your game shows. You're going to keep it on forever, keep me employed.
You know what? I will.
See, and this is why I'm trying to align myself with more Kyles.
See, this is what we need to do. We need more Kyles in this world.
That's
do better, mothers. Okay. All right. So, last thing, 101 ways to leave a game show.
Yeah.
So this was a big jump for you. You going from a cable network to primetime network television. So this is all about Fear Factor taking a notch higher.
Oh yeah.
So how did you learn about this concept? And of course, how did you get involved with this?
This was one of those, like the moons aligned perfectly. I was doing Brainsurge at the time, and season 2 was just about to premiere, and I had gotten a call for, I think my agents or whatever had gotten, hey, there's an audition, they want you to go. One of the exec producers of the second season of Brainsurge was an exec producer on 101 Ways. So he called me and said, hey, would you want to come in and audition for us? I was like, absolutely. So he kind of gave me a little bit of an inside scoop. The main executive producer was Matt Kunitz, who was friends with the other exec producer on Brainsurge, David Hurwitz. They worked together on Fear Factor. So David Hurwitz put in a good word for me. And then that day, the day of my audition, Brainsurge season 2 is premiering. The Friday before, Entertainment Weekly magazine came out and gave Brainsurge an A. I had a little picture in there of me going, yeah, covered in slime. It's like an A, only A I've ever gotten in my life.
Right.
And then that morning I was on like Good Day LA promoting the premiere. I went straight from that to the audition, and the lady at the audition, the casting director, was like, oh, I just saw you on Good Day LA. So it was that perfect, like, water cooler talk of like the magazine article came out. We were premiering that night. I was just on TV. The casting director saw me. There was an exec producer that was working from Brainsurge, is now working on this. The other main exec producer was friends with that exec producer. And it was just that perfect culmination of like everything coming together. And my thing was, as long as I do the audition that I, my way, I'll, that's the most I can do. So I did, when my approach on auditioning was, and it took me a long time to figure this out, was I had to do the audition the way I would want to do the show.
Right.
And bring my personality. Cause that's what, I've always said is like, I do one thing better than anybody, and that's be Jeff. Nobody does Jeff Sutphen better than me. And so that was always my approach. And if I can go in there and leave the room with a good impression of what it would be like to work with me and my style and my tone and my humor, that's the best I can do. If they don't pick me, as long as I gave them what I thought was the best, that's all I can do. So I went in, I had a really good audition, what I felt was a good audition. I came home, my wife said, how'd it go? I said, I think I did really well, but they're never gonna pick me. They'll go with like a Dean Cain. That was always my joke. I was like, they'll go with Dean Cain. Because it was, and again, this was kind of when they were starting to put celebrities into stuff. And I was just like, they're not gonna go with some host who does kids TV. And as it turns out, all the ABC executives, all the Endemol executives, and all the show executives all had kids who were watching Brainsurge. And so it was one of those things where they were like,
it's like
they
just
had been in the room. Yeah, exactly. They'd all been in the room and had seen me do my thing on TV. And they were like, hey, we like this guy. And that was really kind of, I owe a lot to my relationships that I created over the years and helped me grow as a host, as a producer. And this was that perfect moment of everything just lining up. And that was a point in time in my career where I was ready to make that jump. I had learned so much from everybody around me. And I was, again, that safety net was there. And it was like, let's do it, let's go. And I had said, like, when they hired me, Matt had said to me, I said, hey, I'm not fishing for a compliment here, but why me? And he says, we looked at everybody. We auditioned people across the country, New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, everybody. We saw everybody. And he said, what everyone liked about you is no one felt you were hosting. Everyone felt like you were just talking with everybody. And that's my style. I've always just been like, I never talked to kids. I never talked down to them. I don't talk down to my kids. To me, I always look at them as like, I can talk to you like you're a peer. I have the maturity level of an 8-year-old. You're 8. We can get along. Yeah. So that was always my thing. I never felt like I needed to be like, welcome to the show. I'm your host. It was just always kind of like, hey, I'm going to do what this. And that was ultimately what got me the job, was that ability to just be not hosty and just be like, hey, we're here talking about how we're going to blow up this thing, drive a truck off a cliff and have a helicopter fly over and give us a haircut.
There you go.
And that was, like I said, there was a moment there where right before we got the first shot, I got a little nervous. One of the very few times I ever got nervous, because as you pointed out, this was a huge jump. This is big. This is network primetime, our format. You're responsible for this big, huge thing. And I got a little nervous. I was like, oh man, is this the moment I get found out? Is this the moment everyone realizes that I don't belong here? I'm a producer who has been faking this entire hosting thing. This is the moment I'm going to get, the gig is up. And then I just remembered, like, wait a minute. They hired me to be me. Okay. And like, as soon as I was able to remember that, and I was thinking of that, like literally as the stage manager was like 3, 2, and it was like, as soon as he pointed his finger, I was like, oh, it's my time. Here we go. And that was it. I never looked back, never thought, twice about it.
And there you were on primetime network television.
There you go.
One last fan question. Pat, he writes, what did you enjoy the most about hosting 101 Ways?
Again, I know this may sound redundant, but I was once again introduced to a bunch of incredible people. People that I still am very friendly with. I still talk to on a weekly basis. I still work with them when I can. I loved that I got to meet more awesome people, and I've been able to maintain those friendships first and foremost. I loved going and seeing what they had planned every day. I never sat through any of the stunt testing. I would show up and go, all right, what are we doing today? And they'd go, oh, I'm going to show you. We've got this truck. We've got a helicopter. We've got a monster truck. We're going to do this. And I was just like, how are we doing this without killing someone?
Exactly.
And they were like, you'll see. And that was always the thing, is like, all my reactions, I'm not an actor. All my reactions on the show are real because I'm seeing it for the first time, just like everybody else. And so that was really fun. But I think the most fun I had was at the end of every show when we would get to go up on the tower. Yeah. And I got to eject people. So that's what.
Oh, there it is. There's the plunger. There's the button.
That's it right there. That is the ejection button from safety off. Yeah.
That's so cool. I could just sit here and just talk game shows and talk whatever with you all day. Jeff Sutphen, you've been incredible. We've been going on for about an hour. This has been crazy. Jeff, maybe we'll see. We'll cross paths one day. Who knows?
Kyle, you say the word, and I'll come. Shoot my mouth off. I rarely miss an opportunity to talk shop. So,
Jeff, my friend, you've been incredible. I thank you for coming on the show and kicking off our second season.
Kyle, thank you so much. I'm glad that I could be your first guest to your second season.
Absolutely. Guys, we'll be back next week for another exciting episode of The Hirsh Show. Thank you for watching and listening. Mayfield, New York.